Welcome to NCRT Biology Reading, Class 11, Chapter 14, Respiration in Plants. All of us breathe to live, but why is breathing so essential to life? What happens when we breathe? Also, do all living organisms, including plants and microbes, breathe? If so, how? All living organisms need energy for carrying out daily life activities, be it absorption, transport, movement, reproduction, or even breathing. Where does all this energy come from? We know we eat food for energy, but how is this energy taken from food? How is this energy utilized? Do all food give the same amount of energy? Do plants eat? Where do plants get their energy from? And microorganisms, for their energy requirements, do they eat food? You may wonder at the several questions raised above. They may seem to be very disconnected, but in reality, the process of breathing is very much connected to the process of release of energy from food. Let us try to understand how this happens. All the energy required for life process is obtained by oxidation of some macromolecules that we call food. Only green plants and cyanobacteria can prepare their own food by the process of photosynthesis. They trap light energy and convert into chemical energy that is stored in the bond of carbohydrates like glucose, sucrose, and starch. We must remember that in green plants too, not all cells, tissues, and organs photosynthesize. Only cells containing chloroplasts that are most often located in the superficial layers carry out photosynthesis. Hence, even in green plants, all other organs, tissues, and cells that are non-green need need food for oxidation. Hence, food has to be translocated to all non-green plants. Animals are heterotrophic, that is, they obtain food from the plants directly, herbivores, or indirectly, that's carnivores. Saprophytes like fungi are dependent on dead and decaying matter. What is important to recognize is that ultimately all the food that is required for life process comes from photosynthesis. This chapter deals with cellular respiration or the mechanism of breakdown of food materials within the cell to release any energy and the trapping of this energy for synthesis of ATP. Photosynthesis, of course, takes place within the chloroplast in the eukaryotes, whereas the breakdown of complex molecules to yield energy takes place in the cytoplasm and in the mitochondria, also only in eukaryotes. The breaking of the carbon-carbon bonds of complex compounds through oxidation within the cells leading to release of considerable amount of energy is called respiration. The breaking of the carbon-carbon bonds of complex compounds through oxidation within the cells leading to release of considerable amount of energy is called respiration. The compounds that are oxidized during this process are known as respiratory substrates. Usually, carbohydrates are oxidized to release energy, but proteins, fats, and even organic acids can be used as respiratory substrates in some plants. Under certain conditions, during oxidation within a cell, all the energy contained in respiratory substances is not released free into the cell or in a single step. It is released in a series of slow stepwise reactions controlled by enzymes, and it is trapped as chemical energy in the form of ATP. Hence, it is important to understand that the energy released by oxidation in respiration is not, or rather cannot be used directly, but is used to synthesize ATP, which is broken down when, whenever and wherever energy needs to be utilized. Hence, ATP acts as the energy currency of the cell. This energy trapped in ATP is utilized in various energy requiring processes of the organisms, and the carbon skeleton produced during respiration is used as precursors for biosynthesis of other molecules in the cell. 14.1 Do plants breathe? Well, the answer to this question is not quite so direct. Yes, plants require oxygen for respiration to occur and they also give out carbon dioxide. Hence, plants have systems in place and ensure the availability of oxygen. Plants, unlike animals, have no specialized organ for gases exchange, but they have stomata and lenticels for this purpose. There are several reasons why plants can get along without respiratory organs. First, each plant part takes care of its own gas exchange needs. There is very little transport of gases from one plant part to another. Second, plants do not present great demands for gas exchange. Roots, stems, and leaves respire at rates far lower than animals do. Only during photosynthesis are large volumes of gases exchanged, and each leaf is well adapted to take care of its own needs. During these periods, when cells photosynthesize, availability of oxygen is not a problem in these cells since oxygen released within the cell. Third, the distance that gases must diffuse even in large, bulky plants is not great. Each living cell in a plant is located quite close to the surface of the plant. This is true for leaves. You may ask, but what about thick, woody stems and roots? In stems, the living cells are organized in thin layers inside and beneath the bark. They also have opening called lenticels. The cells in the interior and dead and provide only mechanical support. Thus, most cells of the plant have at least a part of their surface in contact with air. This is also facilitated by the loose packing of parenchyma cells in leaves, stems, and roots, which provide an interconnected network of air spaces. The complete combustion of glucose, which produces carbon dioxide and H2O as end products, yields energy, most of which is given out as heat. C6H12 plus 6O2 gives 6 carbon dioxide plus 6H2O plus energy. If this energy is to be useful to the cell, it should be able to utilize it to synthesize other molecules that the cell requires. This strategy that the plant cell uses is to catabolize the glucose molecule in such a way that not all the liberated energy goes out as heat. The key is to oxidize glucose not in one step but in several small steps, enabling some steps to be just large enough such that energy released can be coupled to ATP synthesis. How this is done is essentially the story of respiration. During the process of respiration, oxygen is utilized and carbon dioxide, water, and energy are released as products. The combustion reaction requires oxygen, but some cells live where oxygen may or may not be available. Can you think of such situations and organisms where oxygen is not available? There are sufficient reasons to believe that the first cells on this planet lived in an atmosphere that lacked oxygen. Even among present day living organisms, we know of several that are adapted to anaerobic conditions. Some of these organisms are facultative anaerobes, while in others, the requirement for anaerobic condition is obligate. In any case, all living organisms retain the enzymatic machinery to partially oxidize glucose without the help of oxygen. This breakdown of glucose to pyruvic acid is called glycolysis. 14.2 Glycolysis. The term glycolysis has originated from the Greek words glykos for sugar and lysis for splitting. The scheme of glycolysis was given by Gustav Embden, Otto Meyerhoff, and J. Parnas and is often referred to as the EMP pathway. In anaerobic organisms, it is the only process in respiration. Glycolysis occurs in the cytoplasm of the cell and is present in all living organisms. In this process, glucose undergoes partial oxidation to form two molecules of pyruvic acid. In plants, this glucose is derived from sucrose, which is the end product of photosynthesis, or from storage carbohydrates Sucrose is converted into glucose and fructose by the enzyme invertase, and these two monosaccharides readily enter the glycolytic pathway. Glucose and fructose are phosphorylated to give rise to a glucose 6 phosphate by the activity of the enzyme hexokinase. This phosphorylated form of glucose then isomerizes to produce fructose 6 phosphate. Subsequent steps of metabolism of glucose and fructose are same. The various steps of glycolysis are depicted in figure 14.1. In glycolysis, a chain of 10 reactions under the control of different enzymes takes place to produce pyruvate from glucose. While studying the steps of glycolysis, please note the steps at which utilization of synthesis of ATP or in this case NADH plus H plus takes place. ATP is utilized at two steps. First in the conversion of glucose into glucose 6 phosphate, and second in the conversion of fructose 6 phosphate to fructose 1,6 bisphosphate. The fructose 1,6 bisphosphate is split into dihydroxyacetone phosphate and 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde PGAL. We find we find formed from NADP plus NAD plus. This is when 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde PGAL is converted to 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate BPGA. 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate BPGA. Two redox equivalents are removed in the form of two hydrogen atoms from PGAL and transferred to a molecule of NAD plus. PGAL is oxidized and with inorganic phosphate to get converted into 3-PGA. The conversion of BPGA to 3-phosphoglyceric acid is also an energy yielding process. This energy is trapped by the formation of ATP. Another ATP is synthesized during the conversion of PEP to pyruvic acid. PEP means phosphoenol pyruvate to pyruvic acid. Can you then calculate how many ATP molecules are directly synthesized in this pathway from one glucose molecule? Pyruvic acid is then the key product of glycolysis. What is the metabolic fate of pyruvate? This depends on the cellular need. There are three major ways in which different cells handle pyruvic acid produced by glycolysis. These are lactic acid fermentation, alcoholic fermentation, and aerobic respiration. Fermentation takes place under anaerobic conditions in many prokaryotes and unicellular eukaryotes for the complete oxidation of glucose to carbon dioxide and H2O. However, organisms adapt Krebs cycle, which is also called as aerobic respiration. This requires oxygen supply. 14.3 Fermentation. In fermentation, say by yeast, the incomplete oxidation of glucose is achieved under anaerobic conditions by sets of reactions where pyruvic acid is converted to carbon dioxide and ethanol. These enzymes, pyruvic acid, decarboxylase, and alcohol dehydrogenase, catalyze these reactions. Other organisms, like some bacteria, produce lactic acid from pyruvic acid. The steps involved are shown in figure 14.2. In animal cells, also, like muscles during exercises, when oxygen is inadequate for cellular respiration, pyruvic acid is reduced to lactic acid by lactate dehydrogenase. The reducing agent is NADH plus H plus, which is reoxidized to NAD plus in both the processes. In both lactic acid and alcohol fermentation, not much energy is released. Less than 7% of the energy in glucose is released, and not all it is trapped as high energy bonds of ATP. Also, the processes are hazardous. Either acid or alcohol is produced. What is the net ATPs that is synthesized? Calculate how many ATP are synthesized and deduct the number of ATP utilized during glycolysis. When one molecule of glucose is formed to alcohol or lactic acid, yeast poison themselves to death when the concentration of alcohol reaches about 13%. What then would be the maximum concentration of alcohol in beverages that are naturally formed? How do you think alcoholic beverages of alcohol content greater than this concentration are obtained. What then is the process by which organisms can carry out complex, complete oxidation of glucose and extract the energy stored to synthesize a larger number of ATP molecules needed for cellular metabolism? In eukaryotes, these steps take place within the mitochondria and this requires oxygen. Aerobic respiration is the process that leads to the complete oxidation of organic substances in the presence of oxygen and releases carbon dioxide, water, and a large amount of energy present in the substance. This type of respiration is most common in higher organisms. We will look at these processes in next section. Thank you.